Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and we got another new setup this week. So in the interest of multitasking, I really needed to do two things at once today just because of timing, because I have someone who wanted me to bake these cookies for them, and I also needed to record this video, so I'm trying to do them at the same time. So I'm gonna call this desserts and discussion if it works out. If not, you obviously won't see this video, but this is my lovely apron we got from somewhere in Sicily, Taormina. When they make aprons, they obviously don't think about us big busted gals but whatever, it's cute, it's got my name on it, we're gonna work with it. So today I'm making banana chocolate chip bread cookies. So basically banana bread with chocolate chips, but in cookie form. They're so easy and they're so good. I think I prefer them more than banana bread, but I like banana bread muffins, and these cookies. So it's not my original recipe. It is from Adriana, I believe is her name, from A Cozy Kitchen. One of my favorite baking blogs to follow, and also on Instagram. So I'll link the recipe down below because it's super easy, especially if you have old bananas. And literally you need like one big banana or two small medium bananas, so it's super easy. And so that's for the dessert, but our discussion is going to be about, I don't know if you can see them, The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. These are the first two books in the Stormlight Archive. I recently finished Words of Radiance, like I finished it yesterday, the day before yesterday. I don't know what day. I finished it in the last couple of days, and I just have some thoughts that I want to talk about because I feel like I'm kind of in the minority. So I just wanted to see if anyone else was out there that has similar opinions. This is not like a rant or trashing video, because these are great books, but I just have some feelings that I don't feel that are expressed on BookTube that often, so I wanted to talk about them. So I'm going to try to do that while making these cookies, so bear with me. But before we get started, I do want to say that I hope you have already started your holiday book shopping, or if you are asking for books for Christmas, that you've already given your list out to family and friends so they can begin their holiday book shopping, because there is like a printing shortage. A lot of things are back ordered, so you might as well get started now. And I wanted to remind you to vote in the Shaded Choice Awards, which the website is linked down below in the description. So Princess, Jasmine, and Ashley came together to make the Shaded Choice Awards, basically to throw shade at Goodreads Choice Awards because there were not enough Black or people of color nominated in those awards. So this award is dedicated to Black authors or POC authors. So the nomination round has already passed. It's basically on the same timeline as Goodreads, but now you can vote. So this round is open, and I'll have that linked below, like I said, but I just think it's really awesome, and I hope you participate. So let's get baking, because this person was gonna be mad if their cookies are not ready, and this kitchen gets really hot when the oven is on, so I don't wanna be in here longer than I don't need to. Take off my slippers and get comfy. I hope the volume isn't too bad in here. My oven kind of does make a noise, so I'm trying to speak up. I just need to get a few things. So I read The Way of Kings a couple of months ago. I think I read it in August. I was trying to do a buddy read with a friend on Bookstagram, and I can't remember. I feel like she flew through it and it took me a while longer to read. The Way of Kings did take me significantly less time to read than Words of Radiance. I read The Way of Kings in like a week, and Words of Radiance, granted I took a long break, but including the break took me over a month to read. So if you don't know, The Way of Kings is the first book in Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive, which is planned to be apparently 10 books, but separated into two 5-book arcs, but still, that's very intimidating. It is definitely epic adult fantasy, and not a place I would recommend to start with adult fantasy in general, or even just Brandon Sanderson. Definitely would recommend like Warbreaker or the Mistborn trilogy first. So Stormlight Archive has some of the highest ratings I've ever seen on Goodreads. I know I just looked at Words of Radiance. So that one has like 200,000 reviews or ratings at least. And it's at a 4.75, which is outrageous. Like, I don't know how many books I've seen that high a rating after they've been out for a while. So it's very beloved. If you look at anybody's video, top fantasy video, best books, best Brandon Sanderson, you're going to hear about the Stormlight Archive unless they haven't read it. And I agree, it is definitely an incredible book. It is going to be so vast. It already is. And I was watching someone's video and they called like Brandon Sanderson will be the Tolkien of our time, and it's like, probably. So I'm not arguing with the quality. Is that enough? So I'm not arguing with the quality of the series, that it's one of the greatest, so far. None of that. It's less, I have minor complaints with the story and more just how I feel, I guess, and what I like in a fantasy story. So The Way of Kings is right over 1,000 pages, I think, and Words of Radiance was 1,080 pages. Excuse you? Which is a lot of fucking pages. And I have no problem reading big books. Adult fantasy books tend to be longer because they're so complex. A lot of world building, a lot of story to tell, a lot of characters. I have no issue with that. But it is my opinion that these books are too long. For a series that's planned to be so many books, it is just, I don't know. It's just unbelievable to me that every book would need to be 1,000 pages. Like, not even kidding. It would be more understandable maybe if it built up and the final book was 1,000 pages. But from the beginning, each book is 1,000 pages, and there's novellas that you need to read because they reference things that happen within the story. Because in the story, in both books so far, there are interludes. So you have like the main points of view. There's about 3 main characters that they follow. There's Dalinar, Shallan, and Kaladin. But then there's interludes with other characters, some that were mentioned before in the story and some that were not. And for me, the interludes took me out of the story almost every time. They slowed down my reading so much, like it just felt like a slog to get through. But then there are novellas in between the books that relate to the people in those interludes that are important for further stories later on down the line. And they're like basically a novel because Brandon just I think he just needs to use less words and be more concise. So that is not to say I didn't enjoy the books, but it just sometimes felt like, okay, well, we didn't need to describe, and I'm not talking about world building or important things. Like, I understand that, but sometimes, for instance, in Words of Radiance, there's a character who is dueling people, and there's multiple duels, and it's like, we don't need to see every duel, you know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that isn't essential or critical to the story, in my opinion. We don't need to keep seeing or have it played out play by play. That just adds to the length of the story, and it's like, I just get tired, and it's like, I'm not even tired of the story, I just want to be finished with reading one book, and it's like, I still have so much to go. 50 pages in The Way of Kings felt like 150 pages in a regular book, to me. Let me take a moment and do this because I don't want to mess it up. This recipe calls for melted butter, which praise Jesus, because I swear, when it's supposed to be room temperature, it's hit or miss for me. It's either not soft enough or it's too soft. These OXO containers, my favorite. So this is the banana, melted butter, brown sugar, and regular sugar that you whisk together. And I've already got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. Okay, so like I said, I feel like the books are too long, and that had he been more concise in the main novel, there wouldn't be a need for the novella. Granted, maybe when he wrote the main novel, he didn't think about when he was going to write the novella. So then he did it after the thoughts to tie it in, which is fair, but it still is a lot to have 1,000-page books and then have two 250-page novellas. Like, I just read Piranesi that was like 245 pages. That was a whole book. He's writing a whole book as a novella. It's just a lot. I also had heard about these books, obviously, years before I read them, and hear about people, how characters they love. And the most popular one that I heard about was Kaladin. Like, everyone loves Kaladin. He's a favorite. And I did enjoy his character in The Way of Kings, but in Words of Radiance, I don't know how to explain. His chapters just dragged for me. And it's like a good and a bad thing. It's good because Brandon Sanderson, I think, did a really great job of writing like depression and grief and guilt and all these like emotions that Kaladin deals with. But they also were hard for me to read just because it was depressing. Like, so his chapters, I would just be like, ugh. In the Way of Kings, I felt like I enjoyed his chapters more because there was more of Bridge 4. So in The Way of Kings, Kaladin is a slave turned soldier, and his group in the army basically is Bridge 4, and they have a whole cast of characters. You know, they're all different, they add different things, which I'm not attached to anyone in particular, but they're fun to see them and Kaladin interact. So I enjoyed that in The Way of Kings, and we didn't get as much of that in Words of Radiance. They're kind of like split up or working in different places, so they weren't together as much, which also brought down Kaladin's POV for me. And then there's Dalinar, who I didn't love that much in The Way of Kings. I started to like and appreciate his character more towards the end. But I did really enjoy him in Words of Radiance. And then there's Shallan, who I've always liked. I was reading reviews and I see that it tends to be a common opinion that people don't really like Shallan, and that they don't like Brandon's attempt at writing wit because Shallan's supposed to be like kind of witty. And I feel like he does that on purpose because she's just like, I don't know, she's corny. She is definitely different. She's not like other girls, not saying that, but she's curious, she wants to learn, she's trying to help her family. She's like not this straightforward good girl, and I like that. And I think she's one of the characters I enjoy the most because she's not this straightforward, honorable, trying to be great. Like, she's doing some kind of shady things, ultimately for a good reason, but still, she's dabbling in some shades of gray. And I think, again, I was talking to my friend on Instagram about this, and I think that's another thing I don't connect to in the story or connect with a lot of characters because aside from Shallan, and obviously there are villains in the story that I'm not going to spoil, I feel like they're so, just like especially between Dalinar and Kaladin, they're just so good. They're just trying to do the right thing. They're trying to be honorable and truthful and stick to their morals. And I'm like, that's great and all, but I love a morally great character. So when I read Mistborn, off the bat, I was like, I love Kelsier. And then I started to fall in love with other characters and his crew and Sazied and all these things. I have not felt that yet within these two books, and that's over 2,000 pages between these two books, and I have yet to feel like this deep connection to a character where I think of a series and I'm like, ooh, I love that character. I don't have that. But I think Syl might be my favorite, and it's still not like my all-time favorite in this series. It's just like I really do like her, and it's not like I hate the characters. I just don't have that connection that everybody else has, where they're like, oh my god, I'm so obsessed, I love Kaladin so much, and I would die for him. And so I'm like, is it me? Am I broken? I think it's me. I think that I'm broken. Something's wrong with me. Okay, we need a teaspoon of baking soda and half a teaspoon of push. Nigel, there's nothing for you, boo boo. Oh, fuck yeah, it's Red Bull time. Oh. I would like Red Bull to sponsor me. Please and thank you. Oh, it's slushy. I'm sorry. Woo! That's good. That's good. So, it's obviously me. I'm just not connecting to any of the characters like I want to, and I'm sad about it. I also feel that I may feel differently on a reread. Now, I'm not rereading these books anytime soon. I'm not even going into Oathbringer immediately because I tried to do that with these two. I read The Way of Kings and then I was like, I'm gonna go directly into Words of Radiance because my plan was to do that, read Oathbringer, then read Rhythm of War. And I realized for me that I just got fatigued with the story and I was not enjoying Words of Radiance, and that's why I paused. Because I was like, I just have to take a break. These books are too long. There's so much going in, like my brain hurts. And I consider myself a fairly intelligent person, so I think I can keep up with what's going on, but these are like super complex. So I was like, I need a break in between them. But one day, in the next 3 or 4 years, whenever Stormlight number 5 comes out, I will reread the first 4 books. I might get the audio along with the book and reread, and I know I'm gonna discover so many things, notice so much foreshadowing that is a part of why I love rereading books, especially fantasy, because you're like, oh, how did I miss that? Or now that you know what's coming, for me, rereading, even if I know what's coming, I still can really enjoy it, especially when I learn new things or I understand something better now that I have like all the pieces. So that is definitely gonna happen one day. But right now, looking at it from having read it one time, I just don't have those gushing in love feelings. I feel like they're too long, and yeah, I just don't love them like everybody else. I still consider them to be incredible books, incredible works of fiction that are going to be very important for the genre in general moving forward. But I just wanted to finish. I'm like, oh my god, I finally read The Way of Kings and I get it, I understand now. And I can't understand. I'm not in the club, so I'm sad. So yeah, now you fold it in. Let me make sure you fold it in. If you watch Schitt's Creek, you know what I'm talking about. I like to read reviews in all star ranges to see, well actually I rarely read 5-star reviews. I rarely do. But I like to read 1 through 4-star reviews so you can see what people liked and didn't like. And so I did see a lot of talk about, is it pronounced the Parshindy? And you know, how they're treated, and then the whole light eyes, dark eyes thing. And I can't put my finger on it, but something about the Parshindy bothers me. And I don't know if it's because they're depicted as like these savage people, that it's like giving me white people coming in and conquering a land feeling. I don't know if that's it, because they're like red and black, and they're, you know, they're different. And there's the Parshindy who they're fighting, but there's then the Parshmen who are like related to them but different, but they're subdued. They've basically been enslaved by the people in this world. So, you know, they serve as basically their butlers and do all this stuff. And I don't, just something rubs me the wrong way about it. So I don't know if anyone else has felt that way, or maybe has a better interpretation of what, you know, Brandon, and obviously he's trying to show like caste system and all of these things, because in the story there's also people who have light eyes are basically nobility, and there's levels, and then people who have dark eyes are, you know, the common people, the poor or whatever. And I just it just doesn't sit well with me. I don't know. So yeah. Anyway, I feel like those are my biggest complaints. The length, and I think it's false for you to say like I don't know. I've only read it one time, so I can't say that for certainty he didn't need all those words. But I'm gonna say I'm 75% sure that he could have made them shorter. And I'm not saying to like 500 pages. I'm still talking about like an 850 page book. But not 1,000. Not every single one needs to be 1,000, and I'm gonna stand by that. So I would just love to hear, if you've read these books, your feelings, because anytime I look up a video, it's just like a gush, like greatest fantasy book of all time, perfection, Brandon Sanderson just gets better and better. And at this point in time, this is gonna be a very unpopular opinion, and I've only read the first two, I prefer Mistborn. Ooh, is that too much chocolate? Is there such thing? I prefer Mistborn to Stormlight so far, just because I have realized I'm very much a character-driven person. Now, I also need a plot, but if I don't care about the characters, then I'm less inclined to care about the story or what happens to them. And in Mistborn, I was attached to the characters, and so I was so invested in what was going to happen to them. And this one, I'm like, okay, well, I like him. I don't want him to die, but it's not like gut-wrenching if something did happen. And I think that was a struggle in the beginning of The Way of Kings, because it took a while for me to be like, okay, what's the plot of this story? Like, I understand we're in this world and there's all these people, but like, what's the plot? It takes a while to get there because he's establishing so much in the world, and I'm not gonna go so far to say it's info dumpy, as I don't think that, but it does take a while for you to be able to say, well, this story is about, because in the first couple hundred pages, I'm like, yeah, well, there's people and there's some magic. I do like the magic in Stormlight. So Stormlight Archive is based on like these stones, and they're charged by these high storms that they have in this world that come every, I don't know, week or so or something. And they're really intense storms, but they basically charge these stones that they can use the Stormlight for different powers, and certain people have certain powers. So I do like that. It's very interesting. Brandon's usually really great with his magic systems. However, I will say that I think I like the Mistborn magic system more and find it more like intricate and interesting than Stormlight. Take this all with a grain of salt, because obviously everyone has different opinions, and I've only read these once. So, and I haven't read Oathbringer, which from reviews, for the majority, I feel like Oathbringer is everyone's favorite, but then there were some people who didn't like Oathbringer that much, or didn't love it as much as they thought they would. So, I don't know. What am I saying? I'm basically saying that I think these are great books. I really enjoyed them. I'm obviously going to continue. I think Brandon Sanderson is an incredible writer. He's one of my favorites. However, I just don't love these books, this series, so far as I have loved his other books. So I just feel like I'm definitely in the minority with those opinions. So the recipe does call for you to chill this for an hour, but one time I was making it and I forgot, and they came out fine, so I'm just going to make them right now. But if you're gonna follow the recipe, chill them for an hour. Anywho, these cookies are freaking delicious, like, trust me. Even if you just like banana bread and you like chocolate, you'll love these. They just are so good. They're like, have a little crunch on the outside, like around the cookie, but then they're soft and chewy in the middle. They're so good. And it's just so easy to make. If I can make them while talking to you, you can do it. I know I've definitely missed things, because just that, I think that's the nature of reading. And even when I read a physical book, sometimes I can miss stuff, because I did get to the end and I was like, wait, when did they talk about that? And they probably had, and I just missed it. All right. Those go in for, I put in my oven 11 minutes. And I usually turn them around, but everyone's oven is different, so I don't remember what the recipe calls for. I think 10 to 12 minutes. My oven, 11 minutes, and they're perfect. I will say that I was reading a review and I was scanning it, and it did say spoilers, and I spoiled myself for like a big twist at the end of Words of Radiance, but I still am excited that said twist happened. And I will agree, Brandon Sanderson is great with endings, and not just like to a series, but in his books in general. And I agree that both books, the endings have been great. However, I understand that you have to build the story, you have to build the world, the history. Like, this one has a lot of different people and cultures and religions. But I shouldn't have to go through 1,000 pages and I only feel like the pace picks up and is consistent in like the last 200. No, the pacing was just, I felt like I started out strong in the beginning. The first couple hundred pages, I was like, oh yeah, this is starting off way faster than the Way of Kings. And then it felt like it started slowing down in the middle, and I was struggling. And then I put it down around page like 5 something. Then when I picked it back up, I felt like 500 to 700 was going pretty quick, and then it kind of wasn't, and then it was. So the pacing was a little weird for me. Yeah. But I just want to keep saying, because I know even though these aren't super negative things, this is a very unpopular opinion, because I basically don't know if I've heard really a critique on these books besides maybe people don't love Shalon. But I still really like these books. I'm still like very interested to know what happens to them. It's just not as, okay, for me as a reader, and also just as a consumer of art, right? Like fictional work. This includes TV or movie, especially TV. If I get invested in a character, it affects me, like literally emotionally. It makes me anxious. Like I think about it when I'm not watching it, not reading it. And I often have stopped a book or a TV show because I cannot deal with a favorite of mine, something bad happening to them. Downton Abbey, Peaky Blinders, this book I read called What the Wind Knows, a historical fiction. I just felt something bad coming, and so I put it down. I did finish that book, but I have not finished Peaky Blinders. I did finally finish Downton, but I'm a very emotional person. I get really attached. So when I'm reading a book where I'm in love with the characters, there's like the stakes are so high for me. I feel so tense, so anxious, and I'm like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? I just don't feel that in these books. So I'm like, I'm interested, like, okay, what's gonna happen? Like if, you know, so-and-so died, I'd be like, darn, they were a good character. But I wouldn't be like, oh my God, and like heartbroken like I have been in other books, like I was in Mistborn. So that's it. I guess there aren't a lot of people like me, and that's fine. Maybe I'm hoping when I do reread them, all of this will connect, especially with the first 5, like the first arc, and I'll be like, oh my God, I see it now, I understand, I get it all, it makes sense, this is, and it already is, it's just, I'm just missing that like connection. Damn it, I want to be like the cool kids. And still, if I had to make a top 10 list, it still would be in there, because of like the mind of Brandon Sanderson is incredible and inventive. It's not my favorite. That's all I'm saying. So that was it. I will include what these cookies look like at the end, and like I said, I'll link the recipe down in the description. Go vote in the Shaded Choice Awards. I know you thought I was finished telling you to vote, but this is a different kind of vote. So make sure you vote in the Shaded Choice Awards, link below. Get your holiday shopping started, and I don't know what else to tell you. I hope you like this video and subscribe. If you are interested in holiday shopping through indie bookstores, and you don't have any in your area, I would recommend using bookshop.org, where you can select a book, an independent bookstore, or you can just shop on there. It goes to independent bookstores in general. I am an affiliate, so if you did use my link, I will get a small commission. So thank you if you do. Don't feel bad if you don't. I also have other links for alternatives to Amazon if you don't want to use Amazon. There's Blackwell's in the UK. They have free shipping to the US. There's Wordery for international, so you don't have to use Book Depository. There's also Libro FM for audiobooks. Obviously there's Thrift Books, because A Books is owned by Amazon. So I have that all linked below. I thank you for watching this video. I hope this was okay. Like I hope the volume, the lighting is okay, because it's kind of cloudy outside, but I just kind of wanted to do something different, and I love baking, so I kind of want to figure out a way to include it in my channel. So hopefully this first edition of desserts and discussion went well and you like it. Please tell me in the comments, and of course let me know any of your opinions on Stormlight Archive, popular, unpopular, whatever. Please tell me below, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. I know they look pretty light, but my oven is raggedy, so they're darker on the bottom, but they're cooked and they're delicious. So I hope you try this recipe. If you do, let me know.